Mike Roberts and Joe DeLapp.
Hey, folks, we are here. I am so glad to be back. I can't even tell you. My apologies for missing last week, but thanks to Legendary Dave for filling in for me. But we are back this weekend. We've got lots and lots to get to. I want to get right to things today. So it's going to be a fast-moving show. So, sit back, hold on, and you're going to want to listen really close. Let me do this. You are listening to America's Web Radio. This is the On Point with Victor show. I am Victor Armendariz. So again, it's great to be back. We have a lot to get to. There's so much craziness going on out there and so much misinformation, and there's a lot of anger out there, and I'm going to get to a lot of that, folks, because we have to put all this behind us, because we've got a Senate race in Georgia, and if we lose it, and what I mean by that, if we, the conservative side, the Trump voter, the Republicans, the establishment, whatever you want to call it, we have to have Senator Perdue and Senator Loeffler go back to the Senate. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're a libertarian out there, these two have to go back to the Senate. We cannot afford to give the Democrats the House, the Senate, and the presidency. We just can't afford to do it. If you are a gun owner out there and you vote Democrat, if you're a gun owner out there and you voted Democrat for Biden because your little feelings got hurt by President Trump, well, then you better reassess your voting trend, because if you vote for Warnock and Ossoff, you can kiss your guns goodbye. They're going to come after your guns, and this is not hyperbole. And don't sit there and tell me that, they're not going to come find mine, they're not going to get mine. You know what? Maybe you want a new gun. Maybe you need a new gun, or somewhere down the road, your family member is going to need a gun. If these bozos get control, they're going to enact some crazy taxes and other regulations to make it prohibitive for you to get a gun or a weapon or anything else that you might want to use to protect yourself and to actually exercise your God-given Second Amendment right. So we're going to get to that today. Coming up after the first segment, you guys are really going to want to tune in, because I have the Georgia GOP chairman, David Schaefer. He will be calling in today, and we're going to break down the importance of voting for Perdue and Loeffler. And I'm going to, I'm going to ask David. Look, it's On Point with Victor. This is the show of common sense. It's the show of logic. It's the show of truths. I don't sugarcoat, and I'm not going to hide anything. And you guys know I'm no friend to the establishment Republican Party. But it's great to have David on today, because I'm going to be able to ask him some questions, and we're really going to focus on the Loeffler and the Perdue and why we must come together, whether you're a libertarian, a gun-owning Democrat, a Republican, an establishment Republican, whatever you are, the Trump voter. Because look, folks, there is a difference between the Trump voter and the establishment Republicans. I consider myself a Trump voter. I consider myself part of the MAGA movement. I do not consider myself an establishment Republican, but and I also consider myself more of a libertarian. But we must come together in Georgia, because we've got to vote for Perdue and Loeffler, and we've got to do it as a team. We cannot be fighting with each other. So we're going to talk to David Schaefer about that. So you're going to want to hear that. But before I get into everything, let me do this real quick. Let me get to this. You guys know that I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, and I love my motorcycle. And lucky for me, my better half it encourages me to go on rides. She understands that my motorcycle is my therapy. Those of you guys who know me, you know that I don't drink. I don't do drugs, never have. I've never drank either. But my adrenaline is motorcycle riding. My therapy to get away and escape from politics and all the craziness that's going on is a motorcycle. And so I went riding this last weekend. We had a great day in Georgia, and I went with some friends. And I've got to say, folks, we came across, and I want to tell you about a place called Pop's Coffee Company. My friends and I went for a good ride, and we stopped in this new place. It's only been open for about 3 weeks, and it's called Pop's Coffee Company. So if you're a coffee drinker, You're going to love this place. They had coffee from Mexico, Guatemala, I think from some other parts of the country. They've got food, and for non-coffee drinkers, they've got hot chocolate. They've got teas. They've got flavored hot chocolate. Just a really, really cool environment. And they've got a great patio, garage doors that open up so the inside basically becomes one big patio. You can sit inside or outside, get the fresh air, get your coffee, get your fresh tea, get fresh pastries. It's just a really, really cool place. And right next to it, well, actually part of Pop's coffee company is Pop's Garage, where they fabricate motorcycles. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's such an awesome place. It's fantastic. So if you are in Georgia, you make it an appointment. Make it on your, put it on your list to go visit Pop's Coffee Garage. It's in Roswell, Georgia, off of Highway 9. So treat yourself to that. You're going to enjoy it. So take it from me. Hey, go in there and tell them that On Point with Victor sent you. They may not kick you out if you do that. I don't know. Then again, they might. So, so anyway, all right. Let me speak directly to the Trump voter and the Trump movement right now, just for a second, because there's something crazy going on. You know, I've been trying to analyze now for a couple of weeks. Well, ever since the election, but probably a week after the election, I started seeing something brewing in Georgia. Basically, since we saw that we were going to have a runoff. We saw that we were going to have a Senate runoff for David Perdue and a runoff for Kelly Loeffler. And I kind of saw something happening where we've got the establishment GOP, the establishment Republicans, who were never friends to Trump. Not all of them, folks, but most of them are not friends to Trump. A lot of the never Trumpers were establishment or are establishment Republicans. They want their playground back. And I'm afraid in Georgia that I'm seeing the same thing. There are never Trumpers in Georgia. There are establishment Republicans in Georgia, for one reason or another, didn't vote for Trump in November. Some of them didn't even go to the polls. And now I'm seeing this battle break out to where the establishment Republicans want to blame Kemp and Brad Raffensperger, and Kemp blames Raffensperger, and Raffensperger may blame the Republicans, and then they all want to blame the Trump voter and the Trump movement. And the Democrats are loving this. Understand me, folks. The Democrats are loving this fighting going on in Georgia right now. So much so that they've got billboards out saying the election was stolen. We're just going to steal the Senate election, so don't vote. You've got Democrats telling you not to vote. You've got people within the Trump movement telling you not to vote. You've got establishment people telling you not to vote. Folks, take a step back and understand. If you do not vote, you lose 100% of the time. Let me repeat that. If you sit on the sidelines and you don't vote because your panties are in a wad, or because you're so angry, or because you're mad at that establishment, or you're mad at that Trump vote, or whatever the reason is, if you don't vote, you will lose 100% of the time. Guaranteed. I understand that we had fraud in Georgia. I'm going to bring it up with David Schaefer. We know that inmates in Georgia. Look, I follow the sheriff's race in DeKalb County very closely because a dear friend of mine has been running to become sheriff, and at some point, God willing, he will win because DeKalb County needs him. But I know through my experience with him and looking in and running myself in DeKalb County that inmates are voting, and they're voting illegally. We know that happens. It needs to stop. So don't misunderstand me. I am part of the Trump movement, part of the MAGA movement, and I am angry with the fraud, but I'm also understand, and I've looked at the data, and this is where you've got to take, look, I tell Democrats all the time, you've got to leave your emotions and your feelings on the table. You got to leave them behind. And now we've got Republican voters and Trump voters who are letting their emotions get the best of them, and it's got to stop. If you look at the data in Georgia, it was a turnout problem that cost Trump Georgia. Now, we've got to get those voters out. Now, I am not saying there wasn't fraud, because there was fraud, but what I am saying, and I've been saying for years, is turnout, overwhelming turnout, will defeat fraud. It will, folks. And in Georgia, we didn't have the overwhelming turnout. We had too many people sit on the sidelines and in November, and they can't do that now. So now we've got this fighting. We've got a lot of emotions going around. And folks, let me tell you, if you're a Republican, a Libertarian, or a Trump voter out there and you're letting your emotions get the best of you, the Democrats are loving it, and the Democrats are going to win, and they think they're going to capitalize on it. Or they're winning by us letting our emotions get the best of us. So listen to me close. We've got to let the emotions go. We will deal with the fraud. We, through our votes, can demand that the legislature for Georgia deal with the fraud. We can do that, okay? Our voices and our vote, we can do that in Georgia. But we must not lose the Senate. So we can't let our anger make us sit on the sidelines and not vote, because like I said, if you don't vote, you lose 100% of the time. If we all go out and vote, if every Republican votes, I don't care if you do an absentee ballot or if you vote early or if you vote on election day, every Republican's got to go vote. Every Trump voter, listen to me, because I'm one of you. I think Trump is the best thing that happened to Washington in a long, probably since Ronald Reagan. I am saddened that we don't have another 4 years of Trump coming up for the next 4 years. It saddens me. If any president ever deserved re-election, it was President Donald J. Trump. But right now, we've got to worry about David Perdue, and we've got to worry about Kelly Loeffler. So as a Trump voter, I am proud to pick up the MAGA banter, that MAGA flag, the Trump legacy. I am proud to go vote for the Trump legacy. And the only way I can do that is to go vote for David Perdue and for Kelly Loeffler. Because if we lose those 2 Senate seats, then we lose control of the Senate. And if we lose control of the Senate, then Nancy Pelosi, Schumer, and Biden, and AOC, and Sanders are going to run the agenda. And they're going to take Biden as far left as they can get him. That means they're going to come for your guns. They're going to come for your wallets. They're coming for everything, even your vehicles. And I'm going to get to that later. But we have to come together and vote. Again, if you're a Democrat gun owner, you better be voting for Perdue and for Loeffler. If you're a Trump voter and you want the MAGA to continue, you want the Trump legacy to continue, you have to vote for Kelly and you have to vote for David Perdue. Kelly Loeffler, David Perdue. Because if you don't, the Democrats, Joe Biden has already, there's a leaked video out. You can go find it. It came out yesterday or this morning. Joe Biden is out there telling the wacko left that he will undo every one of Trump's initiative through executive fiat, which means every regulation that Trump pulled away and got rid of by executive order, Biden can come along and put those back by executive order. He is promising to do that. And then he is promising to come after your guns. It has been leaked out in video. I am not making this up. This is not hyperbole. Biden is coming for your guns. But he can't do it without control of the Senate. So we cannot give him control of the Senate. And do not think for a second that there's any moderate Democrats, Joe Manchin included, that are going to save your guns. It isn't going to happen. All right, folks, we're going to go to our first break. When we get back, we're going to go to, we'll probably have our guest David Schaefer on, and we're going to get into some more things about David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. So you guys hang tight. We will be right back. This is America's Web Radio, On Point with Victor.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, join me, Roger B., every Tuesday at 1400 hours right here on America's Web Radio for the Locked and Loaded Show. We will talk about guns, weapons, ammo, gun accessories, prepping, and so much more. So be sure to join us every Tuesday at 1400 or 2 p.m. for Locked and Loaded on America's Web Radio.
I'm your host, Dr. Hal. Every week we come to you with the information that you need so that you will be prepared to advocate for your family and for yourselves when it comes to your health care. God forbid we get Ossoff and Warnock in the Senate and the left gets what they want, which is a majority in Congress and the White House. First of all, health care will be more expensive. There initially will be a public option. The government will run it. They will be initially very inexpensive, and it will drive commercial payers out of the healthcare market. Then the choices will disappear. The only insurer out there will be the federal government, and that's when we get a single payer.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And welcome back, folks. All right. Look, look, folks, let me go ahead and tell you this. You know, I'm not angry. I'm just right. And we can't afford to lose control of the Senate. I want you to think about what's going to happen if the Democrats control the executive branch and control all of the legislative branch. I mean, folks, it's not going to be good. And you know, a lot of the voters out there, according to the exit polling data, which I really don't like to talk about, but if I did talk about it, you know, some of the exit polling data had said a lot of you voters out there, Democrats and Republicans, said that you love divided government. Well, if you really love divided government, then you better prove it on January 5th, because you better vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Because if you don't, then that means the Democrats are going to control the executive branch and the legislative branch. And you've got to ask yourself, do you want an elitist like Pelosi calling all the shots, and an elitist like Schumer calling all the shots? Do you want Biden, the man who's gotten rich off of China? I mean, China is about to eat our lunch again, folks, and I don't even want to get in. I didn't even really plan to get in on to this today, but my goodness, if the things that are coming out, and you know what, since I brought this up about the China and Trump, Biden and Hunter Biden, folks, the stuff that's about to come out with Hunter Biden, and this isn't the Republicans putting this out. You know, months ago, I on this show, I told you, and I think I predicted that it would be the Democrats that would start leaking out information about Hunter Biden. Before the election, the media did everything they could to hide the Hunter Biden story from you. The Hunter Biden laptop, all his associations and business dealings with the Ukraine, his business dealings with China. They went out of their way to hide that. But then I told you, if Biden wins, then you're going to start seeing the Democrats leaking out information about Hunter Biden. And then suddenly CNN, MSNBC, PBS, ABC, CBS, NBC, all of them would suddenly, oh, look, there's a Hunter Biden story. Oh, look, Hunter Biden's under investigation. Oh, look, Hunter Biden got some money from China. Oh, look, it looks like Joe Biden was also in on this deal. All of that's going to come out, folks. I'll tell you one thing, I was wrong. I didn't think it would come out this early. I thought it would come out. I thought they would at least wait 6 months and give Biden a chance to get in there and get settled before they started taking him out. But it's already starting. Look, the Kamala team, Kamala Harris and Sanders and the rest of the wacko radical left, including Pelosi and Schumer and the whole lot of them, they want Biden out, and they want him out pretty fast. They want to get Kamala Harris. They want to get her in so that she can be the incumbent when 2024 gets here. they're not wasting any time, folks. So don't think that that CNN or MSNBC and these people just suddenly found their journalistic integrity, because they didn't. What's happening is the Democrat Party, the radical part of the party, which controls that party, is starting to leak out information. They're giving the media the okay to start reporting on it, because they're building a case to get rid of Biden. And folks, I'm not making this up. You're going to watch it happen, and you heard it here first. They are strategizing on how they can get rid of Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, he's not going to make it hard. I mean, the man's in decline, so we already know that. But they're working an angle, I think, where Biden can get in. They'll let him sign a few bills, and then they're gonna give him the option: you can resign, or we're going to take you out because of the Hunter Biden story. Folks, I'm telling you, it's coming. And if the Republicans have an ounce of integrity, the establishment in Washington, they will get to the bottom of this Hunter Biden thing, because Joe Biden is in the middle of it. And if you're going to go after President Trump for a phone call, if you're going to make up a Russian story for 4 years, and you're going to try to impeach, actually they impeached President Trump for a phone call, a fake story, then you, by God, with all the evidence coming out about Joe Biden's connection on getting rich off of China, getting rich by his name, because allowing Hunter Biden to make introductions and be paid for it, you're abusing the power. I'm sorry, to me, yeah, that's probably an impeachable offense. So they're coming for Biden, folks, and it'll be funny to watch. It will be. It'll be more fun to watch if we win the Senate, if we hold the Senate. So if David Perdue wins and Kelly Loeffler wins, then it'll be real fun then. But I'm telling you, folks, take my word. You write down what you heard on the On Point with Victor show. Write this down. You heard it here first, because they're going to find a way to take out Biden. And I wouldn't be surprised, even if the Democrats still control the House in 2022, if they haven't taken him out before then, that they may bring articles of impeachment up on Biden based on the information. Because, folks, what's coming out about Hunter Biden, we know so much that still hasn't been reported yet. One of the most damning or smoking guns out there is one of the emails that they're even starting to report on this on CNN and MSNBC and all the other left-wing media, is there's an email from Hunter Biden about the offices that they opened and who got keys to the office. And Joe Biden is mentioned, Jill Biden is mentioned, and some bigwig commie Chinese connected, a business China. Let me slow down. A Chinese businessman who is connected to the Communist government of China. He was part of this office that Hunter Biden put together. So they were funneling money in. They had an office set up. And who had keys for the office? Joe Biden, Jill Biden, and the Communist Chinese businessman. Why do you think that is, folks? Why does Joe Biden, who says he never discussed business with Hunter Biden. I never discussed his international business dealings. I don't know anything he's doing. That's what he was saying, folks, not just a year ago. And then in the past few months, what is he saying? I'm proud of my son. So proud of Hunter. Well, folks, if he didn't know anything that was going on in his business, then why did he have a key? Why were they included in this office that was opened to funnel this money from China? Folks, how does a guy like Hunter Biden become very, very wealthy? How does Joe Biden, who's never had a job in his life other than government, how does he get so wealthy? Joe Biden doesn't live in a 1,500 square foot house. Joe Biden has a 10,000 square foot house, and he doesn't just have one of them. How does he do that on a government salary, folks? Start asking yourself these common sense questions. I don't care if you're married to the letter D. I don't care if you've been told that you have Democrat blood in you and you must vote Democrat, because it's all BS. Same goes for Republicans. You shouldn't have Republican blood. You shouldn't blindly vote for an establishment Republican. trust me, we've got to get rid of them. The only people that I would like you to vote for are good, conservative, libertarian-type candidates, people who put the Constitution first, candidates who put the independence first, candidates who put freedom first. That's who we should vote for. But listen to, I mean, you've got to start asking yourself questions. If you are married to the letter D or the establishment Republicans, start asking how these political people who are supposed to serve you, they serve government, they serve the people on government salaries, how they end up with multi-million-dollar mansions. How do they end up with being millionaires and billionaires? How does Bernie Sanders, this socialist of all socialists, how does he get away with telling you he's a socialist and he's for the people, but yet he's a multi-millionaire with no less than 3 houses? He doesn't want you. You don't deserve 1 house, but he gets to have 3. You don't deserve to fly in a private jet, but Bernie Sanders doesn't go to lunch without being on a private jet if he's going out of D.C. So I'm telling you, folks, the politicians that are the establishment Washington politicians, they are no friend to the American people. They're no friend to the voter. So, I don't know. I don't know what's happened, but we were supposed to have David Schaefer by now, so hopefully he's going to call in here soon. If you're out there listening, if you are on the Schaefer team and you're listening, the number is, well, maybe I shouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that. But they know my email, and they can see the number because I sent it to them. So, David Schaefer, if you're out there, we're still waiting for you to call in. So, all right. I just got that evil eye from Legendary Dave, so I'm going to keep moving on. So, anyway, folks, look, let me get into some, let me do this. I know that I mentioned it in the first segment that many voters in Georgia are angry. We had let's just talk Georgia, because I've seen the data in Georgia, and so I can't speak for Pennsylvania, I can't speak for Michigan, Wisconsin, where we know the mail-in voting was a lot. There's a lot of fraud there. You can't deny it. You may not be able to prove it, because once they open these ballots and get rid of the envelopes, folks, you're not going to be able to prove the fraud. That doesn't mean that there wasn't fraud. So we must put a stop to the fraud. And any fraud that happened, now I'm going to speak for Georgia, state of Georgia. We as citizens of the state of Georgia must hold every elected official's feet to the fire, because we must demand that any fraud gets prosecuted. Now, I mentioned before we had inmates voting in the state of Georgia, and that is a felon. That's illegal. That has to be prosecuted and stopped. And whoever is enabling, if a felon is in prison and they're voting, that means that there's an apparatus there being run by the Democrat Party to get these people and allow them to vote. That's got to be stopped. They've got to be prosecuted. They've got to be investigated. Let's start appointing some special counsels. Let's start, the Democrats love the special counsel. So let's start appointing them. Let's get some investigations going across the board to investigate the fraud. Because I happen to be on the side that I don't think, at least in Georgia, that I don't think fraud was enough to give Biden the win. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't prosecute and stop fraud. If we allow fraud to go on, then at some point we are going to get to the point where fraud's able to flip the election. Look at the national, like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan. With mail-in voting, you can't tell me that didn't tip the scales. I do believe that I'm sorry, but I think fraud played a part in that. But how do we fix it, folks? How do we fix it? We can't not get bogged down in the emotion of anger. The emotion of anger is not a good emotion, folks. It really isn't. And if we allow ourselves to get dug in, or if we dig that hole of anger, then we're not going to come out of it in time to make a difference. What we have to do now is decide, what can we do going forward? How do we save this great, wonderful country? Folks, this country survived 8 years of Obama. We can survive 8 years of Biden, but we can't give up the Senate. We can't give Biden a 2-year head start. And what I mean by that is, look, in 2022, I think we're going to win the House, and I think we'll take more seats in the Senate. But we've got to get to 2022. And if we lose the Senate now, that means Biden's going to have 2 years of total control. And he can do a lot of damage. Look, Obama in 2 years, look at the damage he did with Obamacare. And he rammed Obamacare through a process called reconciliation. And that is what Joe Biden is going to do if we allow him to have control of the Senate. If we allow David Perdue to lose, and if we allow Kelly Loeffler to lose, then Biden's going to have control of the Senate. And if Biden has control of the Senate, the Democrats, well, let me put it this way. If the Democrats have control of the Senate, they're going to use reconciliation. With a snap of a finger, they're going to use reconciliation. And they are going to push gun programs, and I mean a tax on guns and a tax on everything else they can tax. They're going to do it through reconciliation so they can start to come after the guns. They're going to try and make AR-15s illegal, and they're going to do it by reconciliation. And it is a budgetary process. I won't get into the minutia of it, but if you want to, you can look up budget process reconciliation, and you can see how back in 2010, somewhere before the 2010 elections, that Obama, how he rammed through Obamacare. They did it through reconciliation process. If we give the Democrats the control of the Senate, they're going to do the same thing. They're going to use the reconciliation budgetary process, and they're going to go after the guns. They're going to go after a slew of things. I'll actually let me find in my list of stuff what they're going to do. This will be a good segment into the Biden agenda, the coming Biden agenda. If we give control of the Senate to the Democrats, then the Biden administration, first the Senate will use the reconciliation to get through a gun tax. And then the Biden administration will start working on a slew of other things. And this is just an example. Bye-bye to new AR-15s, because they're going to go after the assault weapons ban. They're going to try and ban those again. And do not think for a second that Joe Manchin in West Virginia is going to save the Republicans. There's no such thing as a moderate Democrat, folks. Not in today's Democrat Party. The Democrat Party stays together. The one attribute they have, which I guess you could call it an attribute or you could call it something good, is they stick together. The Democrat Party lives in fear of Pelosi and Schumer and the rest of the dingbats on the far left. So that party, today's Democrat Party, is a far left radical party. So if they get control, Joe Manchin's not going to save the Republicans. Joe Manchin, all he'll do is say, well, if you give me enough money to take back so I can go back to West Virginia and I can tell them, look at all the money. Forget about the guns we're confiscating. Forget about the guns we're making illegal over here. Look at all the money that I'm bringing West Virginia. That's what Joe Manchin will do. Joe Manchin won't break from the Democrats and save the Republicans. Joe Manchin won't break from the Democrats and save the Second Amendment. Joe Manchin will just pull as much money as he can out of the Democrats, and they will give it to him so he can run and say, forget about losing the Second Amendment over here. I got all this money for you right here. That's what he's going to do, folks. That's what he's going to do. And Joe Manchin's not up for re-election in 2022. So he's not going to save the Republicans. There are no Democrat moderates that will save the Republicans. There are no Democrat moderates that's going to save the Second Amendment. The only way to save these things are to get out and vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler and make sure the Democrats do not control the Senate. That's what we can do. So let me just go down this list. Let me tell you, just from what Biden has said, what Biden and Kamala Harris, what they've said in the past few months, if they get total control, say bye-bye to AR-15s. We've already talked about that. Say hello to a gun tax. I briefly touched on that. Folks, through the reconciliation process, they can impose a gun tax, a heavy gun tax, where they can say if you own an AR-15, you're going to be taxed for it. If you go buy an AR-15, until we can outlaw them, we're going to tax them. And if they put egregious taxes on them, their goal is to make it so the common American can't afford an AR-15. That's what they're doing. Then they're going to tax ammo so that the common American cannot afford to buy ammo. So this is coming. Then a carbon tax is coming. They'll push through a carbon tax, folks. They'll tax the you-know-what out of fuel because they don't want you driving anymore. They don't want you to have the luxury or the choice to decide on how far you can drive. They've already been able to get you to stop flying, folks. They have scared you so much about the Corona Wuhan COVID virus. They've scared you so much that they've got you to stop flying. A big majority of you have stopped flying. Now they're going to get you to stop driving. Folks, they want you in your home. They want you to sit down, shut up, be in your home, only go out for the necessities. But actually, they don't want you to even do that. They want to put more money into their voters, well, not their voters, their coffer, their campaign coffers. The people who fund the Democrat Party are the elite wealthy people. And that's the Amazons, that's the Apples, the Facebooks, the Googles. Folks, the Republican Party is not the party of the rich. The Democrat Party is the party of the rich. And the people who got Biden elected are the Amazons, the Apples, the Facebooks, the Googles, and all those techies out there. And those uber rich people fund the Biden campaign. They fund the Democrat agenda. So what Biden's going to do is he's going to pay homage to them. So what the Democrats, what do they want? They want lockdowns. They want you stuck in your home. They don't want you flying. They don't want you driving. They want you ordering everything off Amazon or Facebook Market or any other tech company out there. That's what the Democrat agenda is, folks, and this is not hyperbole. Just look around you. Look how your life has changed because of a virus. Now, I am not saying the virus wasn't dangerous. But, folks, the virus isn't as dangerous today as it was 6, 7, 8, 9 months ago. We have therapeutics now, and we have 2 vaccines. I'll get to that later. That's a whole nother topic to get to. The incredible development of these vaccines. So, folks, we got through the Spanish flu with no vaccines. We got through Ebola with no vaccines. We got through H1N1 with no vaccines. But you were told we couldn't get through the Wuhan coronavirus without a vaccine. And then what happened? We got not 1, but 2 vaccines. So now what are the Democrats doing? They're doubling down. Forget the vaccines. We can't get it out fast enough. So what does that mean? We've got to put you back into perpetual lockdowns. We've got to put you back into perpetual state of fear. Folks, that's what they think about it. You've given up air travel. You've given up Thanksgiving. You're about to give up Christmas because they're telling you you have to cancel Christmas or you'll be a super spreader. You can't go to church. You can't worship because you'll be a super spreader. You can go protest. You can go take over a city block and call it your Chad area, the Republic of Chad, the Republic of Antifa, the Republic of BLM. You can do that, and you're not a super spreader. But if you try to live your life according to the Constitution, if you exercise your independence, if you exercise your freedom, you're a super spreader. If you try to go and worship, you're a super spreader. If you try and go out there and just live your life and be with your family, you're a super spreader. You see, folks, you are already changing your life because, folks, you know the old story about the frog and the water, boiling water. If you just put the frog in the pot and bring the water to boiling very slowly, the frog will never know he's being cooked. And that's what your establishment government is doing to you right now. Your Democrats out there, these radical Democrats who love power, they're taking away your freedoms little by little in the hopes that you won't recognize it until it's too late. Now, are you going to let it be too late, folks? Are you going to let your freedom and liberty go? Are you going to keep giving away more and more of your civil liberties in the name of security? Are you going to keep doing that? Because eventually you're going to get to the point where you've got all this perceived security and 0 civil liberties left. Do you want to get to that point? Now, folks, look, I am not using hyperbole. I've said it before. And I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theory whatever. I am telling you what you can see right in front of your eyes. You just look and see how your family has changed. When was the last time the grandparents got to see the grandkids? When was the last time you took your kids out to certain places that you used to go to all the time? When was the last time you took a vacation? When was the last time you were able to enjoy a good get-together? You're making changes because government is telling you to make these changes, because they have put the fear, so much fear in you, that some of you out there still think that you're going to die instantaneously if you catch the Wuhan 19. Folks, there are millions and millions and millions of people out there who have had this virus and don't even know it. Because if you're in an age group, this virus just isn't going to affect you that bad on the whole. Now, I'm not talking about everybody, but we know this. And now we already know, hey, look, for the average person, the survival rate from COVID-19 is over 99%. And now we have, because of therapeutics and because of the vaccines that are coming, the survival rate, if you're over 70, is over 94, 95%. Folks, we've made huge inroads. There is no longer the need to live in fear. But yet the Democrats are doubling down. Democrats that are control of cities are shutting them down because they want you in perpetual fear. They want you in these perpetual lockdowns because that means more power for them. And then they can start controlling every aspect of your life, because if you fear enough, then you'll continue to let go of your civil liberties. Folks, listen, we can't do it. You know, Ben Franklin, he had lots of good quotes, but one of them was basically, if you allow yourself to be a sheep, the wolf will eat you. And folks, that's true every time. The more sheepish you become, the more power the wolves have. And the wolves will not hesitate to eat you, the sheep. And right now, the politicians are the wolves and we, the people, are the sheep. Because the more civil liberties you give away, the more that wolf is going to come and eat you. That wolf is taking a bite. And then they're going to take another bite and another bite and another bite, and pretty soon you ain't got nothing left. That's what's happening, folks. And I'm telling you, we cannot sit back and let this continue. So when I tell you what the Biden agenda is, folks, it is no secret. You can go do your own research and see what Pelosi and what Schumer and what AOC and Sanders and Biden and Kamala Harris, you can see what they have in store for you. They want to come after your guns. They want to get rid of the Second Amendment. They want to pack the courts. They want a gun tax. They want an overbearing ammo tax. They want a carbon tax. They want a fuel tax. Folks, a majority of you are working from home now, so you're not driving as much. You know what's going to happen? The gas tax revenue going into the government is falling. So they're going to figure out another way to tax your fuel. They're going to tax the car in your driveway. They're going to tax your tag. They're going to find ways to do this. Never underestimate the Democrats' ability to tax. All right, folks, we're going to get to another break. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere. This is the On Point with Victor show.
I'm your host, Dr. Hal. Every week, we come to you with the information that you need so that you will be prepared to advocate for your family and for yourselves when it comes to your health care. God forbid we get Ossoff and Warnock in the Senate, and the left gets what they want, which is a majority in Congress and the White House. First of all, health care will be more expensive. There initially will be a public option. The government will run it. They will be initially very inexpensive, and it will drive commercial payers out of the healthcare market. Then the choices will disappear. The only insurer out there will be the federal government, and that's when we get a single payer.
If you live to serve and want to make an even bigger difference, consider joining the U.S. Army. With training in fields like medical care, linguistics, and engineering, an Army career can amplify your efforts with humanitarian opportunities all over the world. Plus, you'll receive competitive pay and incredible benefits, so you'll be taken care of, too. Learn more at GoArmy.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Hey, folks, we are back. Sorry about that. I have not heard from David Schaefer, folks. My apologies. We were supposed to have David Schaefer calling in today, and hopefully he can call in. We've still got time. David, if you're out there, call in. We've still got time. I had some questions I was going to ask him. Look, David Schaefer is the chairman of the GOP in Georgia. And to his credit, he's been fighting on behalf of President Trump. He was on CNN not too long ago. And, my advice to David is probably don't go back on CNN, but actually maybe go back. Go on as many times as you can. Maybe we can get some truth out there. But I know David went on CNN and he tried to point out that, there was fraud in Georgia. And CNN was just, they ended up cutting him off. I've got some good advice on how Republicans, if they can get on CNN, how to approach this fraud thing and maybe make a better point. But look, David was on. I give him credit. He went on CNN. He tried to talk, and they ended up cutting him off. So it's crazy. But I wanted to get in and into a conversation with David and talk about the GOP and talk about what they're doing in Georgia and how they're helping Kelly and David, and how we have to. We've got to win the Senate seat. We've got to get behind David Perdue. We've got to get behind Kelly Loeffler. And I know David Schaefer is. Again, he's the chairman of the GOP in Georgia, and I was really hoping to have him on. So, look, maybe there was a problem and he couldn't get on. If he can't call in today, we'll try and set it up for next week. Look, I can't speak for David Schaefer, but I am positive that he is 100% behind David Perdue and 100% behind Kelly Loeffler. And I know David is out there pushing the Republicans to get out and vote. We're pushing the Trump voter to get out and vote. I cannot stress it enough. If you're in Georgia, and look, to my listeners out in Pennsylvania and California and New York and everywhere else, look, this matters to you. I know I'm talking a lot about Georgia, but this matters to you. This matters to the country, because if we lose the Senate, everybody in this country is going to pay the price. And David, looks like you have and this is legendary, Dave. It looks like you have something to say.
Yeah, I'd just like to carry your thought one more step, and this is strictly my opinion, my radio station, so you can take it for what it's worth, folks. But I, quite frankly, am ashamed of the Republicans, and if it's your guest's fault, then so be it. They're not, and I think this was part of Trump's problem with the fraud and everything else in Georgia, but I don't see the Democrats outworking the Republicans many times over. And somebody, it's like when Bush lost to Clinton. Well before the election, I was saying, Bush isn't working. He came out of Kuwait saying, well, I've won a war, so everybody's going to vote for me. Mm-hmm. Well, that ain't necessarily how it worked, was it? Read my lips, and he blew that, whoever told him to do that. And my concern is that the Republican Party has lost leadership and their ability to dance. They don't have anybody coordinating anything that works. And they, someplace the Republicans came up with, well, we'll just throw enough money at it and we'll win.
Right.
Well, that ain't going to work, folks, and it's not working.
Hey, and Trump proved that.
Yeah, and I don't care how many damn brochures you hang on my door or stick in my mailbox. Yes, I'm going to vote. I don't need your garbage spending that way. And somebody needs to be a choreographer. And I think that's been missed by the Republicans for years now.
Well, David, you make a good point, and you've heard me talk about this. The ground game, and I can say this from a Hispanic point of view, because the ground game the Democrats have, the way they get out into not just social media, but I mean on the ground at different events, whether it's neighborhood walks or they're going to Plaza Fiesta, wherever they're going, they get out and they put the fear into, and I'll just use the Hispanic population as an example. they put the fear and they put all these lies about trying to scare them into vote for Democrats. And the Republican Party, I have been screaming at the top of my lungs since 2010 that they've got to do a better job. They've got to get out, and the outreach. Now, President Trump probably has, in fact, not probably, I know a lot of his team has done fantastic in reaching out to the minority, say Hispanics and the black vote. But the GOP has got to do a better job, David, and your point is spot on. The ground game, what you can spend. Why would you spend all this money when you know David, legendary Dave, is going to vote Republican? You can even look at me for the past few elections, and you know that I am going to vote. And you've just listened. You know I'm going to vote Republican. You can look at my voting record. You can look at David's. You can look at if you're. Every campaign looks. When they go to a district or a state, they look at voters, they look at the voting rolls, and they can see who is a hard Republican, a soft Republican, a moderate, a hard Dem, a soft Dem. They can see that. They can see it in the data. And, David, to your point, the Republican spends how much thousands of dollars on sending you and me postcards to vote Republican? I don't need them to – it's just as you mentioned, you don't need them to tell you to vote and how to vote. What they need to do is an outreach, spend that money hitting the Democrats. When Warnock and the Democrats send out something continuing to lie, saying that Loeffler profited off of COVID-19 and that Purdue profited off of it. Actually, they're saying they profited off the people. Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue's wife's going to be mad at me. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, they didn't reach out and take money from the American citizen. And this is basically what the Democrats are trying to tell. This is what Warnock is saying and what Ossoff is saying. It is a complete lie. So why doesn't the Republican, the GOP, put some of your money and going directly to the Democrat households, whether it's through postcards, mailers, or through TV ads? Go directly to the Democrat voter and say, look, I understand you're a Democrat voter, but let me tell you what's at stake. Here is the lie, and show the lie in their own words, in Warnock's own words. Look, Warnock, the Republican Party could go to the Jewish community and show videos of Raphael Warnock trashing the Jewish people, trashing Israel. Folks, I have Jewish background, so I can talk to this too. Warnock is an anti-Semite. Warnock, in his own words, this can be shown. So go to the Democrat Jewish voters and put ads out showing Warnock saying in his own words that there can be no peace in Israel, that Jerusalem was moving the embassy to Jerusalem was a mistake, that look at what he said about oh my gosh, the prime minister of Israel, Netanyahu. Hey, right.
Anybody that would support the jerk that says he's a reverend, he's not any more of a reverend than I am. I may hold my own services in my office, but when he is a protege of that piece of garbage in Alabama, right?
Yes, Jeremiah Wright. There's another right there, David. Right there.
I mean,
there's video of Warnock praising Jeremiah Wright.
Yeah, and both of them, Ossoff and that Reverend, yeah, big Reverend. Okay, I go to the same brick wall. Anyway, anybody, as far as I'm concerned, that condones and supports abortions and choice, or whatever they want to call it, is when they support long-term abortion or
late term
abortions.
Hey, but he calls himself a reverend.
Yeah, is a murderer.
Hey, he will tell you not to go kill a criminal, but because capital punishment's bad. But then he will turn around and tell you you can kill babies. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense. And I don't care where you land on, which side you're landing on that issue. How can you support or allow Warnock to get elected? How can you sit at home and not vote and let Warnock, who says he's a reverend, but will advocate late-term abortions. It just doesn't jive. And this is also a man, and folks, you know how dear the military is to my heart. You know how dear the military is to legendary Dave's heart. And this Warnock is out there telling people that you cannot be a man of God or a person of God. You can't worship God and also be in the military. He's basically saying you can't support the military or join the military and also believe in God.
We're also changing that here at America's Web Radio, and that's through our Veterans Praying for Veterans. Mm-hmm. The J. Roy Ritchie Memorial for Veterans Praying for Veterans is going over very well. We've got, well, if you hadn't been there and done that, then you don't know what I'm talking about, but veterans have raised their hand and given to you and made it safer, letting idiots like on the Democrat Senate side speak. They've got their freedom because of veterans. And if I had my way, I'd take every one of the idiots out of it. But anyway, so go to our website, and if you're a veteran and you're in need of prayer, or if you know a veteran that is, no matter what their problem is, what they're suffering from, anything, send us their name, and we'll do it just like I'm about to do it right now. And these people, we've had people send in these names. Peter Manfrey was a Marine and has and is recovering from cancer. We also want to mention Larry Kenyon, and Larry he was in the Air Force, and he's continuing after 31 years, continuing to suffer from damages that were caused to his body in the Gulf War. So, and we've got more and more that are coming into us that need prayer, and we ask that you say a quiet prayer for them.
Right, and we need to do that. And folks, I have got to apologize. David Schaefer is coming on. He's going to call in at 2:15, so continue to listen. Listen to the next hour. David and I are going to do a special hour. I made the mistakes, ladies and gentlemen. This was not David Schaefer's fault. I made the time. I did that time wrong. He is scheduled for 2:15. He's going to call in today. Folks, this is my fault, and I am not afraid. You know me. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. This is 100% my fault. David Schaefer will be calling in today at 2:15. So continue to listen. Listen to the special hour coming up from 2 to 3. So, but anyway, look, what David was talking about, prayers for veterans, is so important, and it just takes me back to how important it is to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. We cannot allow somebody like Warnock, who Warnock does not appreciate the military. Warnock doesn't give two licks about veterans or the military. You just look up his videos and you can hear it in his own words. And folks, look, I'm not angry. I'm just right. We cannot allow a radical like Warnock. Warnock is an anti-Semitic. Warnock trashes the Jewish people. He trashes Israel. He trashes the military. He trashes good American people. If you are a Christian, he doesn't like you either, because apparently you can't support the military and God at the same time. That is all according to Warnock. I am not making any of this up. Legendary Dave is not making any of this up. We cannot afford. And again, if you're a Democrat out there and you own a gun and you think you suddenly enjoy the Second Amendment, you cannot vote for Raphael Warnock. You have to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Now, Kelly Loeffler, look, I know she still has a lot to prove, but so far she's done pretty darn well. And Kelly Loeffler is going to protect your Second Amendment. I don't care, establishment versus whatever. She's going to protect the Second Amendment. I know she will. She's not going to let your taxes get raised. She's going to fight for lower taxes. Warnock is not going to do any of that. Kelly Loeffler is going to defend the military veteran and the military. Warnock is not going to do that, and neither will Ossoff. Okay, folks, that's all we got time for today. We are got to end the show right here, right now, so stay tuned. Come back next week. We'll have more. Stay tuned, though, for the next hour. We're going to have a special show for myself and Legendary Dave. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. You're listening to America's Web Radio.
I'm your host.